Happy Saturday, everybody. BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right. I feel pretty good, but this is one of them days where you, before you even leave the house, you start wondering if you probably shouldn't. Like, the moment I got up, first of all, last night, me and my boy T had been discussing how he was gonna probably need a little more money for, the storage this upcoming week. Of course, today's the 31st, which marks a year that I've been in North Hollywood, by the way. This was the day that I got over here last year, 365 days ago. So that's one thing, but nevertheless, my boy was gonna need some money from me again this month. So, I had no problem committing to it. I had some birthday money left over, so that wasn't gonna be as much of a problem this time as it was last time. So I told him I can give him 80 bucks. Last time it was 100. I said I could probably do 80 this time. Shot him to 80 via Zelle last night. He had sent a Zelle request. I asked him, you have a Zelle account, so we ain't got to meet up and do it that way. We ain't got to exchange cash. Just, shoot me the Zelle request. And, we had that conversation around 12:30 in the afternoon yesterday, right after noon. And he said he would shoot it later in the afternoon. He ended up shooting it to me like around 8:30. So I'm like, all right, cool. I sent it off, and the money was extracted from my account like 10 minutes later. I sent him a response telling him, a text confirming that it had been sent. He didn't respond to it. So I'm like, all right. I was making a playlist, so I just kept on doing what I was doing. I didn't think much of it. Figured he's probably busy, probably doing a bunch of other things at once. Figured he would get back to me in the morning or something like that. So I woke up this morning around like 10. My body was tired. That was another aspect of it. I woke up at like 6:30 early and, looked around, looked at my phone and said, nah, I'm too tired. I'm not going to be staying up like this. I went to sleep, woke up at like 10, which is the latest I ever woke up on this side of town. But my body's been exhausted, all of that. So I get up, do all my things, shave, shower, eat. And rather right before I take my shower, he hits me up via Facebook call. And that was right there, like, he ain't calling me from his cell phone. He's calling me via Facebook. And, sometimes people steal people's identity on Facebook. So you don't really know if it's who you think it is calling you. I've had many people pretend to be different people on Facebook, over the years. So it's like, I'm skeptical. I don't know if that's who that is. But I answer it anyway, given the circumstances. And he hits me up and he asked me, hey, did you send the money? I'm like, yeah. I told him it had been confirmed 15 minutes after I sent it, around 8:30. After you sent the request, I sent it straight to you. I had my phone in my hand, so I didn't even hesitate. I was already in the account, so it wasn't even many steps to take. I shot it over within 5 minutes. It was confirmed to be out of my account. He was like, well, I don't have access to the Zelle account that you sent it to. And my thing is like, wait, you gave me a request to take the money from a Zelle account. That's the only reason why I knew which account to send it to. So you trying to tell me you don't have access to that account? He was like, nah, I woke up this morning and find out I don't have access to it. I'm like, oh shit, man. What the hell? So where's my money, basically? So I guess the way it works is, he was able to call his bank and let them know what had happened. They put a cancellation on the money to have it refunded to me. Then I had to contact my bank and let them know what had happened as well. It's already pinged on their end to receive it and send it back to me. So what I did is I called the bank. Of course, that was the situation. And I found out it wasn't as hard as to have to call the bank. I didn't have to go through all the steps of getting on the phone with the bank. All I had to do was go through Zelle's application, and they have a cancellation button that you could press. It's like two buttons, So learn something new every day. It ain't that hard to cancel something like that as one would think. And it should take 2 to 3 business days, I think the lady said. I think she said 2 to 3 business days for it to be returned back to me. And I guess I'll shoot that to him on Wednesday in a different way. But, my concern when he called was I don't have it to give you twice, even though I know it's going to be coming back to me in a few days. I can't double pay you. I can't commit $160 to this right now. You understand what I'm saying? Knowing that the 80 would be coming back in a couple of days, I don't have it to give you like that. I've committed the same money to you, so when it comes back to me, I will be happy to give you what comes back to me so that it rightfully lands in your pockets. But today's the day the money needs to be given to the people in order to keep from having issues with them going forward. Now, from what I understand, it's not as dire as last time, but they will attach some super fees to any delinquent payments for this go round. They were talking about kicking our stuff out last time. He gave them an exorbitant amount to get itself back to zero. So that's the good thing. It's not like he owes a massive amount, but for the amount given, if he doesn't give them the total amount, it's going to be more expensive next go round. So it's like, all right, well, I can't do that. I'm not in a position to do that. But, you know, it was $180. I was able to give him 80. And so I guess he was getting 100 somewhere else. But now he's got to find the whole 180. So I'm hopeful he's able to do that. He seems to think he'll be able to do that. And like I said, I don't have any problem committing the money. The money's already gone in my mind. They're going to send it back to me, and then I'll give it back to him again. Some other way. I don't know if we're going to go to Zelle route. I don't know if he's going to be able to get access to a Zelle account. But I'll probably give it to him cash. That whole situation there, it was irking because there was a time where you wondered if you actually could get your money back. And it was a time before he had expressed to me that he didn't expect me to double pay, that I thought he was asking me to send him another $80, as to which that was not going to ever be okay, for multiple reasons. But, it is what it is, man. I think that situation is straightened out. Now we just wait for the money to get back to me, and then I'll send it back to him. But that was one thing. And so I get ready to get out the house. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going, but, today's Saturday. I want to get out. I got to pay the people to take care of the room. So as I was going down to take care of the room, and I'd already secured the money yesterday. My uncle gave it to me early this week. So I had made sure I picked up that money on the way home yesterday. So I was ready to pay. Didn't have to go nowhere to get it. So I went down to the lobby area, and it was a pizza man in the lobby area cussing back and forth with the person he's supposed to be picking the food up from, or dropping the food off to, rather. I guess it was somebody in our building. Seemed, obviously it was. He was on the phone with that person. That person, I guess, answered the phone. You ever have a situation where you answer the phone and you've been arguing with somebody, you just hung up the phone on them, and somebody call you again and you answer the phone? Maybe you're on the double line, so maybe you don't see the number or whatever it is. However that went, he answered the phone like he was talking to somebody else, and he had MFs to say. And the delivery guy didn't have the patience to be able to absorb that for whatever reason. So he was going back and forth with the guy in a way that essentially was very combative, and he was essentially telling the dude to come downstairs, pick up his food. He want to see him like a man, like they was gonna fight. And my thing is, the delivery person gotta know that either you're dealing with somebody who's mentally ill, or you're dealing with somebody who's in the middle of an argument. You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, that it's not personal to you that they hit you with MFs when they answering the phone. But just the same, he took it that way. And so he was giving off energy that I knew was fighting words. So at this point, I'm waiting for the lady to give me my change and my receipt. But I'm also looking around for who's gonna come down these stairs or around this corner ready to box the pizza man, or who gonna come with whatever they come with, because it's LA. You know what I'm saying? You getting into it with somebody, you think they ready to punch you, they bringing out guns and stuff. So my thing is like, oh, please hurry up, lady, and give me my stuff so I ain't caught in the middle of whatever the hell this is. Because I don't particularly have the patience nor the disposition to deal with that type of energy at this stage in my life. I don't want to be around that. I don't want to be involved in that. I don't want to be in nobody's crossfire. You understand what I'm saying? And so it was one of them situations where that person never came down and picked up the food or something like that. I don't really know how that ended because I got out of there and was given my package, which was also waiting for me some soap I had ordered, along with my receipt. So I went back upstairs to drop off the package. When I came back down, the pizza man was gone, and so was the food. So I don't know if that person came down and it was straightened out, or if the pizza man went back. But I know he had called his manager while I was sitting there. He called his boss and told him he was having trouble with this person, and he sounded like he was about to quit the job, like over the phone, like, I'm sick of this. I'm like, bro, you know, it's hard being a delivery person in LA sometimes when you're dealing with personalities, big cities in general, but LA particularly, when you don't, you know, you probably dealt with 5 and 6 other people that had a certain type of attitude before you even got to this situation. Now you're dealing with this, so your patience is shot. I was just like, man, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be in the middle of. I don't want to be here when it goes down or none of that. So I was thankful that Kelly, the receptionist, was finally able to give me my receipt and my package. I went back upstairs, took care of my stuff. And then when I came back down, it was over with. So, you know, at that point, I'm like, man, should I even leave the house? Maybe I should just stay home and make this an art day. But I'm in the midst of doing my exercise. You know, I'm really doing this walking thing every day again. I've already used up 3 out of the 4 days walking up and down Lancashire and a little more as well throughout the course of my day. So I want to keep that going. I felt extremely groggy. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie. I could definitely lay in the bed today, but I want to be out. I want to keep this up. I'm enjoying it. My body's reacting well to it for the most part, and that is what it is. So, and then on top of that, man, it was unfortunate that hip hop lost Fat Man Scoop this morning. Known most for doing songs with Faith Evans and Missy Elliott, lost his life this morning, and then I saw the footage of that. It was real sad, man. He was on stage in South Carolina and was doing what he loved to do, man. We heard his last words. His last words were, everybody make some noise. You know what I mean? And then he ended up collapsing on stage. So, and never revived after that. So, yeah, man, rest in peace, Fat Man Scoop. But it's just one of them situations where this is one more reason why I'm getting out the house, getting my exercise in. You know, I'm trying to take care of myself. And even though I've had stints in my life where I've been in really good shape, at the end of the day, I had a horrible start in life, which means that the damage could already be done to my organs, to my heart, even though I'm pretty healthy. And I've had stints in my life where I've been very active. When you start your life off extremely unhealthy, you do all the wrong things, you're sitting around for years at a time not really doing nothing, you could do a lot of damage to your body long term and not know it. Have you a little stint where you have some nice muscles, but your heart is all clogged and stuff like that. So I don't know how much damage I've already been done in my body based on how I live. So that's why it's like, for me, and you see a guy pass away like that, you know he wasn't healthy. You know he didn't take care of himself. It's like, man, let me get out here and exercise, man. I'm 40 years old. I don't want that to happen to me. I really don't want to be the guy who lived unhealthy and died early. That's not the path I'm trying to be on. I don't think Fat Man was older than 60 years old, man. And that's unfortunate. He had COVID, from what I understand, as well. So I don't know what ultimately the situation was, or what his cardiac arrest, I don't know. But this is one more reason to get my walk on right now, man. That was one of the main drives for me not staying in the house relaxing. I got my little extra 3 hours of sleep. I did my workout this morning, and I'm gonna go probably to Hollywood or something like that right now, and make sure that I walk back, not catching the bus back, just like I haven't been all week long. Feels like it's a little hotter again. It's been in the mid 80s. Right now I feel like it's about 90, 91 degrees, maybe a little more than that. So it's getting hot again, but I'm of the mindset that this is the time for me to get my conditioning right. Plus, I ate Mexican food last night. I did not feel like eating what I normally had, so I bought myself some Mexican food. So I got to walk that off, man. Ain't no way I'm not gonna react to that as well. So that's really what it is, man. That's how my morning's going. It's about 2 o'clock, maybe something like that. 1:19 actually, and I'm gonna try to make the best of the day, man. Hopefully that energy that was all in that lobby doesn't carry over in any way toward what's next, because I didn't have those vibes after the situation got resolved with the monies. I was in good spirits for the most part. My breakfast was especially tasty this morning, good banana and oatmeal, that kind of thing. So I'm not in bad spirits, but I don't want to be around bad energy either. That's really what it comes down to. So yeah, man, just encourage everybody to take care of themselves, man. Learn from what Fat Man went through. There should be a lot of people who saw what happened to him, who look at themselves and say, man, I don't want that to happen to me. That's what I think. Not to say I know what he died of, but we know he didn't particularly take care of himself throughout the course of his life. So I hope his passing can be an example of what happens when you don't take care of yourself. Everything that's being sold to you. You can't just drink everything that's being sold to you, etc. Some of this sugary soda stuff, cupcake candy, everything that's being marketed to you, this is what it does to your body. We just got to know that. At the end of the day, I'm walking past a Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr. ads for all different types of stuff that ain't no good for the body. And if you do what America wants you to do, if you do what capitalism wants you to do, you're going to pay into all of it, consume all of it. Like, in a perfect world, an American is a consumer of many corporations' products. Whatever you've been seeing throughout your football games and your daytime TV shows, or whatever, your nighttime TV shows, whatever they're selling you, if you're the perfect citizen, you're paying your taxes, you're following the law, and you're consuming this bullshit. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. And every 4 years, you're buying all of the rhetoric that they tell you about this being a democracy and how you're supposed to vote, and guilt trip you into vote and tell you that your ancestors died for that. And you will buy all the rhetoric about joy and America first and make America great again and all this other garbage, so that you can be considered the right type of patriot. And if your life goes the way they want it to go, they will have entertained you and sugared you and greased you to death. And you will likely be out of here by the age of somewhere between 65 and 90. They're going to get you out of here. And they're going to flush some new propaganda and some new marketing onto your kids, and they have a plan for them to die the same way. Literally. That's what it means to be an American, and you're never supposed to care about nothing that's going on outside of these walls, and you're certainly supposed to be paranoid about how you feel about people coming in changing these ways. And you should also feel pride within the notion that your paranoia is protected by an army of your own children willing to die for this country. And what they're really doing is sending your jobs and your money to places that they are cool with in regards to the immigrants. People that are within their agreements of people that they won't consider to be toxic individuals. It's never Muslims, because quite honestly, they're not corruptible. You can't force upon them consumerism. Their religion is too tight in regards to that. The religion is built to keep all that out. It's built to look for that and shun it, which is why they hate Islam so much. But a lot of these other religions, like our own Christianity, if you follow what I follow, we welcome consumerism. We're nice and passive in our way of doing things. There's no need to protect ourselves because Jesus got all that. And as a result, they're able to work around that, within that, and through that. And so that it's like, that's what it really comes down to. And then you got these lobby groups in these places that America's cool with, like Israel and Ukraine, controlling what really happens. Your government Your treasury, more or less, is all controlled by these people. They funnel money out of your tax situation into their situation. And then from there, they make their lives even better than they make your lives. Israel got health care. They're taking care of them with high level, schools and stuff like that for the kids. All of that taken care of, paid for with what? With your tax dollars. Because you don't require all of that. You don't require all of that, and it costs a lot more to take care of you than them because that's a much smaller place. So that's how the logic works. It's like you take care of who's paying your government, and your government gives you as much as you're wired to demand. That's it. You understand what I'm saying? That's really what it comes out to. And then the capitalism and the corporate environment and your consumerism takes care of all that. They may sell you some crap, but it's got sprinkles on top of it. You understand what I'm saying? So you're not gonna complain because you're wired to appreciate crap with sprinkles on it. Hey, and this is what I've come to understand. And in places like who they cannot corrupt, like Venezuela and Palestine, they treat them people like garbage. If they can't corrupt them, if they can't get them to work within their system of Zionism, white supremacy, or whatever the whole process is of capitalism, whatever that ideology is, if they can't corrupt them, then they're the ops, and they got to destroy them. That's how they would think. Or they got to find a way to infiltrate in such a way so that they can control it. That's it. And so for me, it's like, I'll tell you right now, man, the wool is not over my eyes anymore. The veil is not over my eyes anymore. I have no interest in being a part of the structure of things as it pertains to being a good American. I don't care about none of that anymore. I do not take pride in that black art that is our American flag, put together by a black woman. I like her art. It's not an ugly flag, but my esteem is not wrapped up in how I pledge to it. That's an idol. The only thing I'm really supposed to be pledging to within the religion that I believe is Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. But they got us putting our right hand over our heart, pledging and saying all types of chants to a flag. And nobody questions that from within their religious spaces. Like, don't you see that that's the very same thing as an idol? That's an idol. That's something you're not supposed to be doing anything with in regards to worshiping it. You ain't supposed to worship that. That's bad for you. That's the idea of what idolization is about. And so, like, things like that, we don't filter through our common sense because we're indoctrinated in the notion that we should trust who's telling us to do these things. But then when I look at that same copy and paste problem in Israel, their indoctrination tells them to kill kids and to cry victim about it. So it's like if they can't think their way through that because of the structure of indoctrination culture, am I to blame them for that when a good portion of the people around me, including myself, couldn't think our way through what's indoctrinating us to idolize a flag and continue to put poison in our body in the name of consumerism and continue to work ourselves into the ground in the name of capitalism? None of which is really benefiting anybody who's here, because a lot of people are still on the streets. Despite you having a job working it for 20 years, there's still people in your country who are living on the streets. And your money's being sent elsewhere to do things that are no good. If you're doing homework on it, you realize that money is not going where it's supposed to go. You're paying your taxes, and then taxes is going to feed Israeli families. and then to corrupt your very own government against you. And corrupt your very own government into moral practices that are just vile and terroristic in nature. So it's like, I don't trust any of this crap anymore. I have to think my way through the indoctrination nonsense just like the rest of you do. Just like any other country does when they have indoctrination madness that's not meant to reflect any positive energy upon them. Have you treating people poorly, looking at people funny, because your country can't warp them into the nonsense that they've warped you into, so now they paint those people out to be bad guys. They're not bad guys. They're just immune to the indoctrination nonsense that you agree to. that ultimately is meant to destroy you any damn way. They're not buying. If anything, you need to follow them. They'll keep you alive. If you really consider the logic. So for me, it's like I'm of the mindset that I've always had a notion that this crap was bad. I mean, it's in plain daylight for us to see when you consider how they built this thing on the backs of my ancestors and on the backs of Native Americans who are also my ancestors. But you get the point. And you see that has always told you who they were. And when a person tells you who they are, you believe it. That has always been in our faces the whole time. But a part of the indoctrination is to keep you from identifying these things as obvious indicators of whether or not to trust. That's part of the sorcery, so to speak. You will understand that, but you will not weigh it against whether or not you should trust the people who've done it. It's just an amazing mind screw that they've had upon us, but it works in other areas too. It's just like people in Israel. You clearly see that everybody all over the world, and any of these things that you pay attention to as an Israeli, none of them believe that it's okay to do to people what you're doing to the people of Palestine. You believe that having things stolen from you is bad, but you feel it's fine to steal from others. And those questions that make you see that is a true indicator that what you learned is no good. Instead, they're indoctrined comfortably and carefully within spaces that allow them to ignore what is in front of them in that way, to continue to engage in the energy that otherwise, if they just thought for 2 seconds and applied what it is that's in front of them for 2 seconds, they can see that what they're doing doesn't help them. What they're doing leaves them looking bad. What they're doing ultimately hurts others, and that is something that is no good for them. It don't take that much thinking. But if you're wrapped in a culture where asking the right questions is deemed taboo, or if you're wrapped up in a culture where you trust whoever's telling you whatever, and they are above reproach because of whatever cultural agreements that you ultimately have, then you're of course going to look at the truth and say, well, I mean, it makes sense, but in my book here, it tells us not to make any sense of this. It more or less coerces us into believing that we're wrong for trying to make sense of this. You know, and that's what a lot of people are under. That's the mind screw that a lot of people are under in various different cultures around the world. Yeah, of course this makes sense, but it can't make sense, because if we look at this, and this, then we're bad guys for looking at this, and this. And it requires us looking at this, and this in order to see the truth about what it is we're doing. You know, it's wrapped up in, well, you know we did wrong, but we've come a long way. That's the mind screw in this country. Yeah, we enslaved the black people. Yeah, we genocided the Native Americans. But look how far we've come. Look at how progress has gone. Yeah, we vilified the Black Panthers. Yeah, a lot of things were horrible. Yeah, we didn't give women their rights to vote until the 20s. But look how far we've come. Can't you see we've made progress together? No, you've just capped that progress and gave us incremental rights over time with this intention, so that you could then say, look how long it took before we came to a space where we worked together. Why would you want to undo all of this? There was never anything undone. It's just you slowly but surely giving me the toilet paper I need to wipe my behind. That's all it is. You give me one sheet every 35 seconds, I guess you could say. If I'm gonna wipe my behind, I need all the sheets to come together so that I can get this process done. But if you give me one incremental sheet every 37 seconds, it can come together to me having enough, but I gotta sit there and wait to make myself clean. So it's like, that's kind of how this has been in regards to progress. They incrementally gave you what you needed when they could have gave it to you all in one ravel, but they refused to, so that they can mind screw you into thinking that there's been progress. It's not progress, it's just slow deviation of rights. That's all it is, with the intention of being psychologically overpowering in regards to you having your esteem wrapped up in being honorable to that slow progress. And so for me, it's like, I'm not buying none of that crap, man. You're the slaver. You guys are genociders. And you still believe in the same stuff you did then. And it shows in how you're treating these people here. Nothing's changed. Just that you've been able to disguise yourself as people who've, with the change of incremental change, with the process of incremental change, we're supposed to have believed that you've grown within that incremental change, when actually you were just giving me a slice of one sheet of toilet paper every 37 seconds. You didn't change. You were trying to rock me to sleep so that I would believe that over time you've changed while you were actually training me. I ain't that type of stupid. So that's what we got to understand. We got to unlearn the training. We got to know when psychological damage and pimp tactics have been worked on our minds. That's what it is. Pimp tactics. You know what I mean? They abuse your mind. They mess with your esteem. They work you, give you what they want you to have, and then tell you it's for your benefit that they do it. Use what otherwise isn't discipline within you as a means of breaking down your esteem so that you will trust them over your own logic, and they can continue doing the things that they're doing. That's pimp stuff. They've been pimping their people here in America for years. The whole time. Because it was the only way they were going to be able to get away with their old crimes. Black people getting up here and yelling and screaming for these politicians, smiling with these big fake smiles. These people been pimping you the whole time. They never meant you any good. They didn't mean each other any good. That's what it really came down to. And then the way that Israel operates, and their willingness to kill some of their own people for the betterment of their own cause, is the exact way America operates. And it's willingness to sell some of their own people down the river for their own cause. That's what white folks got to understand. You've been getting beat up by your own people. They've been engaging in Hannibal directive on your ass the whole time. And these plays that we're seeing Israel engage in, these are plays that are run on America. America is the big Israel. America was why they think Israel will work. You genocide the people, the population, you screw with the minds of the rest of the surviving ones, and then you push them into a corner while you continue to build what it is that you ultimately build, and then the culture from what it is that propaganda is provided. It's supposed to make it so that everybody's cool with that over time, slowly but surely give them their rights, and eventually the few that are left will either be stuck in a position where they feel like they have enough, or it'll be so few of them that their rise won't really hurt the circumstance. That's what they're hoping to do to Palestine. It's the same thing they did here. It's the same thing they do everywhere they colonize. These are not new plays. The problem was the advent of the internet and the advent of social media, and made it difficult for them in real time to get away with this without the hypocrisy of it all being in their faces. It's a new tool. Same plays, new world. And so the propaganda don't hit the same. Not with the presence of these cameras all in the faces of these places that are doing all this evil. The technology's not the same. And they haven't found a way to work around the fact that the game has changed on them. So they're still running the same plays, still engaging in the same gaslighting, still engaging in the same dystopian behavior. But the problem is that there is something showing all of us that they're full of shit. That's not what was available to the world when they've been colonizing and doing all that and running these plays in various lands like Australia and Canada. You know what I mean? They've done this everywhere. They kill the indigenous people, whitewash the entire thing, bring religion into the situation, and slowly but surely work the kindness of it all into the equation. It's like, oh, we're kind. See, we're kind. We're dignified. We're demure and all that other stupid stuff that ultimately doesn't actually tell the story about what their interest is. And they will continue to colonize more of the earth if you allow them to. That's really what it comes down to. Luckily enough, we do have these cameras in place to help us see the Palestinian nonsense that they're doing to these people. They're going to continue to spread if we let them too. You think they're done with that little area of Palestine? You ever heard of Greater Israel? They're going to continue to spread. They're going to colonize more areas, genocide more people. It's what they do. It's what they do. And so until we get to a point where we start doing the difficult things necessary to shun that behavior, unwrap our minds around the nonsense that is the mental webs and gymnastics that they ultimately have run time and time again, we're going to be in a space where we're just going to kind of be continuing to see them do some of the same stuff, whether the truth is being told or not. They're going to continue to mold the laws to fit the narrative that allows for this to continue to happen. Because the goal was never to just take these lands, it was to take the entire world. So they still got more work to do. They got to take Israel, then they got to take the greater Middle East, then they got to spread into other areas. All areas where melanin is found. They got to take all of it. They got to whitewash the whole thing until the whole world is in America. It's exactly what it is. They're going to take Africa if they can. You understand what I'm saying? They're just working their way around. They're working their way around. And the entire intention is world domination. It's not to take a small little portion of the Middle East. It's to take the entire Middle East. And then they'll work their way around to the Orient as well. You see what I'm saying? So people got to understand, they ain't done. The white man is not done taking over the world. In fact, he's only taking a portion of it. Just a small portion of it. He's got more to do. And we're seeing the Middle East right now. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing corrupt the land, surrounding lands in the Middle East. He's going to get a big enough piece of the pie in greater Israel, so to speak. And then he's going to take that and colonize the rest of it. And that's what's wrong with the Arab nations right now. Because they're not seeing, it seems to me that they're allowing those people to come in and do business and make a couple of short-term dollars or short-term deals as if the intention to colonize is not in place. Bro, it may not happen in your lifetime, and maybe that's the only thing you care about, which is why you allow them to continue to do this for a couple extra dollars, or to keep holding a few little weird secrets that maybe a few of y'all got going on. But the reality is, you keep on capping for Israel and America and the colonizing entities of this world, and eventually they're going to turn their attention to your land. That's what it really comes down to. They're going to turn their attention to your land. You keep capping for these people. Like they're going to let you live in solidarity while they take over other aspects of the world and not yours. It's world domination. That's what it's about. They want to stamp the whole damn thing. Don't y'all get this? This ain't the end of the story. This is like the middle of it. And so for me, it's like, I understand what white supremacy is up to at this point. I see how they operate. I understand why there's so many people in this country that are completely comfortable with Israel and that whole situation there, because this is how they've always operated. They never not knew who they were. They just needed us not to be aware that they're still like this, so they can continue to form what it is that's ultimately their wealth, continue to build upon their wealth in these times that continue to change to be progressive in nature. They were never going to change the playbook. It was always about world domination. It was always about taking over each and every land possible. It was always about that. We just so happen to be living in a time where people want to be kind, people want to identify the way they want to identify. You know, the propaganda is in this country and in the Western world is pointed at identity and my self-pride and all that. But as the times change, the plan still remains. That's what you got to understand. The plan is still take over the lands. All melanated lands. Make sure that you wipe out most of the population, whitewash it with American Christianity, and then from there, capitalize it and move it in such a direction that allows for this to be fine within the cultures of its own intentions. This is how it's supposed to go if you continue to let Talmudic entities control the world. And we're so kind and so careful that even in fighting these things, we're doing nothing. We're hitting them with pillows. You understand what I'm saying? We stabbing them with feather ends. Like, that's how this is going. You with all due respect to the resistance, we're not deterring the behavior at all. We're too kind and too indoctrinated in good behavior to do what's necessary to stop this nonsense. I'm just being honest with y'all. You can shake a fist and point a middle finger at an entity that's willing to destroy children. But trust and believe me, you're not going to shame it into throwing away its intentions. Intentions that they've been working on for a whole millennia at this point. An entire millennia. They've been trying to do this. They're not going to put it away in 2024 because you're cussing at them and painting your hands. That's not how this works. And a lot of people believe in their hearts that it's futile in doing what's necessary to stop these people, or that there is no hope. So if they're too big to fail, you can't join them, you can't beat them, join them, that kind of thing. And that just makes them stronger. That even further reinforces their possibility of this horrible thing. You need more people to be radical against it, willing to give their lives against it, willing to get into the root of what it is and disrupt it. It ain't just about shaming it. Shaming it does nothing for that. That's stuff they do that works on your brain to get you to behave. That stuff don't work on the system itself. The system will not be shamed. You understand what I'm saying to you? The system will not be shamed. It's immune to that. It has no what's the word? It don't have any ego wrapped up in shaming. It's not going to say, oh, damn, I shouldn't do this. It's going to take over the world, fam. They ain't got no interest in what your little mind is thinking. You don't even hear as far as the bigger plan. You bones in the ground. They already accounted for you dead before you even die. So it's like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. You gotta look at that for which they control and literally ignore it. The laws that they put in place to enable them to do the evil that they do, those are the things that need to be broken. All over the place, from person to person to person. And then the consequences that come with that are going to have to be absorbed. And then you're going to have to attach yourself to the things that it does, to the inner workings of it, and continue to disrupt. Make it very difficult for it to operate going forward. Then you got to be able to replace it and all of its inner workings so that you can function without it. That's what needs to happen. Because you can oust the white supremacy entity, but if you can't keep yourself alive without it, then you fail any damn way. So you got to be able to effectively replace them in all of the things that they control. You got to be able to purge them out of the circumstances and then replace them, and then put a stamp on top of that process so that they can never return. That's how you save your world from this nonsense. Very, very difficult stuff. It requires a certain immunity to the propaganda going forward. An immunity to it. You can't have your mind wrapped up in whatever it wants you to have your mind wrapped up in, more or less. It's the way I see it. You can't have your esteem wrapped up in whether or not you're continuing to make it stronger. I gotta follow it. I trust it. I'm voting for it. I'm voting around it, or whatever. No, that thing gotta go. And you can't have so many separations within the people, gangs, racism, sexism, all these different isms, because if you're separate, it can continue to maneuver in between the spaces that you are not. You gotta come together completely to oust something like this out of your situation. And as long as they can continue to stay in between you, weaponizing you against somebody else, they can do whatever the hell they want to do in between those spaces you're not, as I've already said. So it's coming together is the most important thing. People got to put the guns down, put the drugs down, get your minds right, get your spirits right. Agree to disagree in whatever religious spaces. Whatever is required to come together is what ultimately is going to be needed in order to effectively oust this cancerous entity. It's necessary that we do this as a humanity-wise. It's necessary that we do this. You got to raise your kids to understand that compassion is their true north. Working together to get along with people is your true north. Dignity and standards of being moral in nature, but not intolerant just the same. So a lot of people have their morals wrapped up in being intolerant. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Because you can remain separate. I don't mess with them because they screw this way. I don't mess with them because they look that way. I don't like those people because of this happened to us in the past because of they people. That type of stuff keeps you separate. And it's going to require unity, complete and utter humanity in unison, to agree in all of its differences, to work in a common goal, to oust colonizational mentalities from the inner workings of its functionality. If you can't get that shit out, it's going to consume you. That's just what it is in the world. If you don't oust that cancer, it will take over the body. It's that simple. Many people don't believe the world can unify. But if you understand that most of the problems that you have are created and manifested by this same cancerous entity, then you understand what's kept you separate in the first place wasn't natural. It was never natural. You had an instigator in place, always making these situations what they were not supposed to be to keep you separate. There was always somebody trying to bend this person against that person, or put propaganda on this side and then opposite propaganda on that side to keep you separate. Divide and conquer is how it's operated the whole time. Silencing people like myself to keep us from saying these things so they wouldn't wake people up to come together, because there was never no reason not to come together. Intolerance is taught. Look at animals, look at children. They come together. Yeah, you're going to have some entities that are no good, but they have to be taught around that. True discipline. To teach one to love one another and not be evil in nature. It's required discipline for that. It's required training for that. It's required an environment for which that behavior is shunned, so that people will have their esteem wrapped up in treating people properly. That's what's missing. And that's not by accident. Tolerating, feeling like as if you're not tolerating somebody is what ultimately makes you a horrible human being. Just like they've coerced you into thinking not paying your taxes makes you a horrible human being, or not aligning with gangs for some of y'all is the worst thing in the world, or trying so hard not to be outcasted. What is that energy being pointed at? Is it in you getting money, which is classism, a separation tool? Or is it within your intentions of coming together, and how that should be what ultimately your intentions of negative esteem is pointed at? Damn, I didn't let that person in the door because they were this way. I'm the worst person in the world. Just like your ass is trained not to cross the street without the lights being green for you to go. That should be the same intended training pointed at shunning all separation tactics put in place by white supremacy. And when you get to a point where it's that real, then you're going to have a machine together within the people that is strong enough to oust the cancer that is colonization, Zionist white supremacy. Then, when everybody understands the fruit in coming together is not just about getting along, but literal survival of this cancer, then you will understand fully why it's so important that you not be so irritated by the differences amongst one another. Because as long as you're separate, you're not forming that great Voltron that ultimately will be intelligent enough, strong enough, and influential enough to oust this nonsense out of your situation. It's what's required. So, I don't know how long it's going to take, probably a long time. But if humanity is going to survive this entity and overcome that for which its intentions are to take over the entire world, this is what's going to have to be done, man. It's exactly what's going to have to be done. People are going to stop hating each other for reasons that are old, but fully and utterly manipulated since the beginning. You got to identify stuff like that. It's been in place for 1,000 years, yes, and so has the intentions of doing what it is that we've found out is being done for the last 1,000 years. You can't go with those traditions because those traditions were meant to do exactly what they've done. You got to oust those traditions. They can be no more if you're going to continue to go forward. It don't work. All this consumerism, the culture of eating poison and consuming all types of stuff when you know damn well it kills you, none of that can't go forward. That can't go forward. That just eats away at your numbers. You know what I'm saying? The idea that we can push each other away within our own communities based on tribalism and all that stuff, if it's a separation culture, remember, that for which is corrupt can nestle itself in the spaces you're not, pin you against one another, and keep your esteem wrapped up in continuing that fight. As long as you're separate, it can continue to control and colonize and spread like any other cancer in this world. This is what it is. It's going to function how it functions, man. It's an organism. It's a cancerous organism, just like any other. It just happens to be in a human form. That's all it is. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.